Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. Today I'm going to get back on the TC125 transmission engine build. I went back, I looked up the Kickstarter again just to make sure on the washer, and it's an interesting thing that I come across. So let me get back, let me show you this before I get it back into the build, because I had to tear it back down to get that out, since it's kind of the first thing to go in. But just let me show you. All right, I happen to have a couple extra engines back there, and I just went back to look, and there's quite a few differences here. This is the kick gear and the oil pump drive gear, that whole thing, from the bike I'm working on. And here's one out of another machine. And this one, when I tore it apart, it had the washer in here. I think it's a 73 also, but it's maybe it's a different, you know, a later one or an earlier one or something. But you can see here, this is the one that I'm working on right now. And you can see that has never had a washer in there. This is the shaft that goes in there, and you can tell that it was rubbing against this. Now let me show you what I found after I was doing some measurements. This one here, if I go to the outside of the gear to the inside floor where that washer would go, I'm looking at about 340, 0.340. And on this one, if I do the same thing, the washer's out. This one is 0.387. So that's 47 thousandths difference in the depth here. You can put these side by side and put them gear to gear, and you can tell that this one is deeper than that one. So I'm afraid if you put a washer in there, you would have a problem. So there's another thing that I see about this gear setup too. Look at, I don't know if you can see it or not, but right here, this is an oil seal. Right there. This one here, no oil seal. It's metal all the way, no place for an oil seal. So there's quite a bit of difference there. So I think we're right in not putting a washer in there, because I just think that there would be, you know, the thickness of the washer is 57 thousandths. So there's 47 thousandths difference between the depth of this one and that one. So that's another 10 thousandths. So I think I'm going to put it back in the way it came out. And you know, there is a washer that goes on back here, and I think the way things are, I think we better just put it back in the way it came out, because this engine had never been apart. But after thinking about that, I just wanted to make sure. So I'm going to get back to where we were and put it back together the way it was, because I'm not going to put that washer in there. I think we'd have some kind of an issue. But there are completely different gears here. The depth is 47 thousandths difference in the depth of them. So let me get back to where we were. Okay, we're back to the point that we were at, and I just want to get the washer on the Kickstarter right there. And we can go ahead and get the gasket in place. Just going to check one more time here to make sure all the oil is off that. We've got 2 alignment pins, one here and one there. I have to be careful here because I've got the my nuts off of these hold downs for the case, so you don't want to turn it over. Okay, still got the washer in place on the crankshaft. Hey, this gasket fits pretty nice. I see one place here, this bottom hole. Let's see, I think I can lift this up okay. This bottom hole looks like it doesn't line up real good, so I'm going to clearance that one just a little bit with a scalpel. You just don't want to start putting the screws in and it pushes some of the gasket in the hole and then you can't tighten it. That one there maybe a little bit. It's certainly better than the one on the 74 that I did. So maybe they corrected their problem. Okay, I think the rest of them are all right. Like I say, I get these gaskets from a place in Michigan, I think it is. Yes, SK Gaskets, Unionville, Michigan. And just to let you know, they are not listed for a TC or a TS 125. They're listed for a TM. So they are the same. If you go to the IPP, it will say that if you look up the TM and the TS and the TC, it lists the same gasket. So for whatever reason, you can't get them from Suzuki, and for whatever reason, they only list them for the TM, but they work. Okay, so we've got that on. We've got this washer on, this washer on, no washer here, no washer here. So we're gonna get a little oil on the crankshaft where the bearing is going to go, and a little bit here on the end of each shaft. Should be good. Now, one thing I'm going to do here before I go to loading this, I'm going to turn this around and put the keeper on the drum. Let's see, I'm going to have to put this back down. It always kind of bothers me. The keeper, this little item right here, it goes in the drum. I'll show you when I get it, when we get the cases together and turn it around. Right now I've still got you hanging from the ceiling, and I don't want to have to pull you down and move it twice here. So I'll show it to you when I get to this side. And the reason for that is just to keep it from pushing out. we want to try to keep everything in line. Okay, now I've got the other case here, and just to just kind of show you, let me get you down here. I've got a lot of the same pitting and whatnot in here. It just goes with it. It's like I say, the sealing surfaces are good. It just shows up here where the transfer ports go, and down in the cavity here a little bit. But we've got all new bearings in. They're all fitting good, and it's just, you know, short of locating some new cases, it's not going to be a problem. You know, if it was a race bike or something, you might want to smooth all that out. But this is going back just as stock as it came from the factory. So at this point, we've got, like I say, the bearing installed. It's the correct bearing with the oil injection shield on it. And again, if you want to put motor oil, you know, your what you're going to use in your bike, that's great. I'm going to stay with my assembly lube. It's just thicker, it's going to stay put, and it will wash out as soon as it's introduced to the fuel. And we're going to put a little oil on these two bearings. Everything's good. And we'll get a little oil up here where the drum goes. And a little bit here where the Kickstarter is going to go in. All right. All right, let's see if we can get this thing to go on. Got all our dowel pins in place. Now, kind of got crooked here somehow. I think I'm going to have to get rid of this. I have to do something here. Hang on. Okay, I had to get the flywheel or the crankshaft installer tool on this side too. It's pretty tight going over those bearings. I think we're together. Those bearings fit pretty tight. Looks like we're way we should be there. Okay, I've got all the screws installed, not tight. Remember, let's see if you can see them here. Remember that the ones that have the threads in them for the puller be this one, and this one. They have a washer under them. Those are the only three that have a washer under them, and that's to protect those threads. Okay, everything is up as it should be, the case anyway, and we're just going to go ahead and run these screws in. Okay, this is the keeper that I was talking about that I told you I wanted to show you, and that goes in between the drum and the case here so that the drum can't back out. Okay, on the bearing here, you've got two recessed screws and three that aren't. So you want to make sure you get those in there, and it's kind of hard to mess this up actually, but there's a hole right here that allows oil to come in through here and up into the bearing. So see, the bearing actually comes up flush here. If it wasn't for the hole, then it couldn't make it over the top of it there. So before I put that on, I'm going to put a little assembly lube in it. Okay, everything works. Free to turn. Go ahead and cut this gasket off here. Front piece actually broke off, but it's all good. All right. So we'll go ahead and get the neutral switch in on the other side here. Oops. Those are all 17s, I think. All right. Get our pins in the selector. You've got some long pins. All of them are long pins except for one. It's a short pin with a kind of a shoulder on it. And you need to look up inside here, and you'll see that these up here, in this case, these four are deeper. They're actually drilled into the piece behind it. That's where the long pins go. This is where the short pin goes. It just sits there like that. The rest of these go all the way in there. And then you get your top. And I'm kind of wondering if I'm going to have to take this back off to get the shifter in. I bet I am. So we just won't tighten it up. Okay guys, I guess we're going to call it a day on this one, and we'll jump back on it tomorrow and try to finish it up, get the clutch side in and all that. But at least we got the cases back together. We've kind of figured out the Kickstarter issue. Really wasn't one, but we uncovered some kind of interesting information about it. And anyhow, I think if you put all those washers in that the book tells you to, if they're not there to start with, you're going to have a problem. It's going to pile up, it's going to get too thick, and when you put the cases together, something isn't going to move. So I think in most cases, if there hadn't been anybody into the engine, you're probably best to assume, and that word will probably get me in trouble, you're probably best to assume that it was done right. We hope so anyway. Anyway, I think sometimes you're better off not making a mountain out of a molehill. Just put it back together the way it was, unless it's obvious that somebody had been in there before. And usually there's not just one thing that shows up, there's multiple. So use your own best judgment on that. Anyway, hey, thanks for going along on the ride. We'll see you next video.